Hey, what's up, guys? Lonely with a Big Opinion here. So, tomorrow I've got to make a trip down to Austin to go to a funeral and then a baby shower. Uh, and from where I live, we're going to be driving for about 5 hours. Um, and then leaving from the funeral, it's going to be close to a 6 hour drive. Um, not doing the whole thing in one day. The stuff's on the weekend. And I've got a list of stuff that I'm going to bring with me. Um, going to talk about my planning process because I really don't want to get caught with my pants down. And if you're like me, then you probably do something similar to this. And if you're clicking on this video going, what the heck's he talking about? Then stick around. Subscribe to the channel. Share it with everyone you know. Like it if you like the stuff. Put your suggestions in the comments down below. And if you want to see more of my workout stuff, then I'm going to keep making those videos because I am consistently still down about 5 pounds. I'm not doing daily updates. I've thought about, doing the picture to see what my stomach looks like kind of thing. But I don't really care for that. If you want to see it, then I guess I'll start doing it. But first things first, primary mode of getting there is our vehicle. So, check the oil, check the tires, top the tank off. Went and got a few $100s in cash. And, that's what everyday people should do. I can still carry, so that's coming along with me. I've got that Kel-Tec Sub 2000 that I'll bring along as well. I don't really think I need much else in the way of protection. I've got, my pocket knife, but that's like a tertiary thing in this situation. The things that I'm, a little bit more focused on, because that's like everyday carry kind of stuff, is, the roadmap. It stays in the glove box. So if internet was down, I'd still be able to make it home. Although I've done this route enough times that as long as the primary route is still available, I don't think that's quite necessary. But, then you toss the wife and the baby into this equation. Bring enough, snacks and a couple of days worth of food. I've got a duffel bag that we keep in the car. And, 3 or 4 water bottles, my quart-sized Nalgene's, or I think I have one sitting here, actually. Looky here, I do, because I need to wash it. A little bit bigger than a quart. It's the 48 ouncer. And then I've got my little go bag as well. Toss in my IFAK, and I go ahead and take my medicine with me. One of them I get a 90-day, another one I get a 30-day. Might as well just toss that in as well. It doesn't take up that much weight. And actually the 30-day one, I think I'm getting closer to having 2 extra months of it because it's kind of a take as needed. And, that's the other big part of this working out is I have completely cut out the insulin that the doc had me taking because I was feeling like crap. I was, having a lot more lows than I had, stuff in the reasonable category. But the other ones I still take because they have other, benefits. Although we might be talking with her again and, making some adjustments on that. I've got a book. Really thinking about getting a Kindle. Got my battery pack that, it's got an outlet on it, but it's really only good for charging the smallest. Like, it'll charge my laptop for, I think, like 8 hours, and then it's donezo. But I do have my 60-watt solar panel that will basically full charge it, in a 6-7-ish hour day of sun. Bring in my Baofeng because I'm going to see my brother, and we're probably going to do some caravanning because he wants to make sure that the parts he replaced on his truck are doing what he wants them to do. So, we can act like kids again and, play walkie-talkie with each other. I've got a tent, a couple sleeping bags because, yes, we're in Texas. Yes, I'm going 5 hours further south. They serve two purposes. It's padding, because sleeping on the ground kind of sucks as you get older. And, if it's cold, we've got that stuff. Fire starter, flashlight, all of these things that I'm talking about, for the most part, fits in a 60-liter duffel. So, any size car can really tote this kind of stuff. And then, the wife doesn't like it, but, we get below half a tank, and I typically stop and fill it back up. I know with her car, we could just about make the trip there and back. We'd probably be at like 40 miles till empty. But, I know, Kat. You say hi to the camera? She's the one that doesn't like me picking her up. But we'll stop, even if we're there where we're at, I'll fill it up because then I know we'll make it back, and we've got, more to spare. And then this kind of goes into the video I had the other day where I was talking about communication and why that's important. Alright. If something were to happen, people know where we're going, they know when we're supposed to be back, and, we've got, times to, meet up in case stuff happens. And then, the boring stuff that everyone, taking a couple changes of clothes, our shower stuff, that sort of thing. And, there's other stuff that could go along. I'm not that, insanely paranoid about this trip. I think it'd be different for other places I was going, or if I was going further away. I don't want to say it's, super crazy, but, I don't plan on bringing my plate carrier, my AR, 2 weeks of Mountain House meals and a camp stove and this other stuff. And I get it. Some people say, nope, that goes with me all the time, everywhere we go. You know, that stuff's non-negotiable. Um, you know, I think if you went that crazy about it, you know, you might as well, we might as well take the pickup truck and completely load the back of it up. And, you know, at that point, it's like, well, you know, hook the trailer up and load up more. You know, you hit a point where, you know, you are that stereotype of, oh my gosh, the world's ending. And at that point, you know, you go ahead and get your shovel out and keep digging your nuclear fallout bunker and stay home and never do anything. You know, there's a balance in this. So I have thought about it in my head, calculated, whatever you want to think about. You know, possible scenarios, how to either avoid them or mitigate them, and, you know, determine the stuff that I'm going to bring, you know, to help deal with this. And, you know, if I let my mind wander any further, you know, we go back to what I just said, and you get the shovel out and start digging. So let me know down below what you think. You know, what are your non-negotiables when you go on a trip? Would you add stuff to this list? You gonna take stuff off this list? You can even mention considerations that don't really affect me but affect you and might, you know, be things for other people to consider. And like I said at the beginning, subscribe to the channel. Let's help build this community. Like it if you enjoy this stuff. Dislike it if you don't. Share it with everyone you know. And with that, catch you in the next one.